Hi there. In each era, there are people who forever inscribe their name in history with their actions, courage, sympathy, and of course the desire to change this far from ideal world for the better. Dozens of books have been written about some, films made about others, and there are simply those who do their work quietly, without any noise even now at the moment that you're watching this video. And not for praise, not for money and power, but simply because they care. Because a person comes into this world and leaves it without anything. And all that they leave behind is history, the fate of people, recognition, and eternal memory. And it is about one such person that I want to tell you today. It'll be interesting and instructive for many of us, but first things first, this ordinary looking man is Harris Rosen. And when he just walks along the street, every person in the whole city, from the usual store seller to the most notorious criminal who spent half his life behind bars, pays him a tribute of respect, taking off his hat to him. So what did he do that millions of people know his name today? Rosen grew up in New York in an ordinary, for that time, family. His childhood was no different from his peers, and when he graduated from school, his parents were able to educate him. He studied at Cornell University with a Bachelor of Science degree. Already in these young years, he had a goal to make this world a little bit better. And for this reason, in the mid-70s, he turned to Walt Disney to work with him and benefit people. But for unknown reasons, Disney did not take Harris in. He didn't see any prospect in this young man, although Rosen's eyes were burning. Having failed the last interview at Walt Disney's company, an upset Harris didn't even know what to do. All his dreams collapsed in an instant. He had to somehow survive and earn money, so he got a job at a hotel, after which he worked for many years in the hotel business in various states of America. But even despite the fact that he was the most ordinary seeming worker in the service sector, he never abandoned the hope of changing the world. He always dreamed of helping other people and donated the little bit of money that he earned to charity. In the third decade of his life, Rosen settled in Orlando in sunny Florida. He still worked at the hotel, and as it seemed to him then, life was gradually passing by. The man was good at his job, and for many years of work, he knew everything about the hotel business. Therefore, he saved money long and hard, and in the mid-80s, he raised $25,000 by borrowing a small portion from his friends and bought a small old motel. And it is from this moment that the story of his great success begins. As the city of Orlando grew as a center of tourism, the hotel business grew with it. The motel of Harris Rosen began to give good profits, and the entrepreneur continued to build hotels to compete with giants of the business. For several years, he achieved great success, and at first became a rich and then a very rich man. Many would have thought that everything, his maximum success, had been achieved. Live and enjoy your life, spend a huge fortune, buy expensive cars and yachts, relax in expensive resorts, and fly on private planes. But this wasn't it for our hero. Once, Harris Rosen called the local municipality about the deplorable state in which the population of the town of Tangelo Park was. The authorities, frankly, didn't know what to do. About 5,000 people living there were mired in vices and drugs and eked out a miserable existence. They had no hope for a better future, and the town itself, all normal people, tried to go round by the side. It was a terrible place where even the cops were afraid to appear. And the number of crimes were off the scale and was the highest in the whole state. As Harris himself later said, "I just couldn't stay away, and for me it was a new challenge." Just imagine a millionaire gets into his expensive car and himself, in absolute solitude, rides into the very heart of this area. And that's exactly what Harris did. The man came to Tangelo Park, left his car in the middle of the street, and went to talk with locals. To say that for them it was a little strange is an understatement. He found the leaders of local gangs, local community leaders, and gathered ordinary people in the city. And he simply asked them, "Do you really want to live like this? Do you want your children to have no future, so that after they turn 16 years old, a stray bullet catches up with them?" Of course, many were shocked by such courage and even the audacity of this man, but this was what encouraged him. Rosen was so sure of his desire to help these people that this confidence was passed on to the locals as well. He talked with them and found out what was really hurting them, namely the lack of opportunity to develop and the absence of any prospects for further life. Then he realized that he should share with people what he had. After all, he had enough fortune for 1,000 families and more. Within a few days, the strange man appeared again in the town, but this time he did not come empty-handed. He brought food, clothing, and even computer equipment to a local school, and a few days later, he brought sports equipment. And that's how, day after day, Harris dedicated himself to this place, and soon the locals began to believe in his idea and the desire to change everything. By the way, the man himself didn't even notice how the city, together with its inhabitants, started to become his hometown. Within a few months, the millionaire decided to connect his fate with the dying town of Tangelo Park. He bought a house on one of the streets and moved in himself. He understood that there would be a lot of work and a lot of money would be required to implement his plan, but he was ready to share without a drop of regret. In the first year, he spent $4 million of his personal funds for the vocational training of adults in the town, thanks to which several hundred men and women found a decent job, and as a result, a place in the vast world. In addition, Harris Rosen paid preschool children a visit to kindergartens because most of the children simply didn't have the elementary opportunity to go to kindergarten. To all school graduates who graduated with good grades, he guaranteed further education at universities and colleges as well as small scholarships. It was after this that the percentage of graduates in the town increased from 20% to 100%, and the crime rate in the area decreased several times over. He said it was strange and at the time nice when you watch this with your own eyes all the changes, he recalled in an interview. Yesterday's car thieves, drug dealers, and those who haven't let go of guns since childhood meet you in the library or rush to the exam. It really was worth it. Harris later transferred $25 million and donated a piece of land to the University of Central Florida for the development of hotel management at a college there. All graduates of local schools automatically enter this college absolutely free. Not only that, they all then find work in the Rosen business. And today, the millionaire's company includes 8,000 hotel rooms that serve 4,000 employees. Harris is widely known in Central Florida and far beyond its borders because of its kindness. Harris Rosen once said, "You can imagine a picture. In one of the hotels, there's a man who, at the time of our acquaintance, didn't know how to write and read, and had 2 criminal records behind him. He had only one way, but now he works as a manager and successfully manages his responsibilities. He started a family, and even bought a house and Porsche." Looking at him, after 10 years, it's hard to imagine how he was many years ago. In addition, Mr. Rosen built at his own expense in the southwest of Orlando a new community center, many sports fields, city infrastructure, kindergartens, and schools. He also provided housing for several dozen families, employed almost all the inhabitants of the city, supported small businesses, and taught financial literacy to former criminals. He sponsors children's sports because it's thanks to them that adolescents no longer get on the streets, but instead focus on achieving results in sports. Anyway, everything that is blooming and breathing now in Tangelo Park was once suffocating from violence, was touched by the hand of this person. When a newspaper called Mr. Rosen the Man of the Year, curious journalists began to search for information and found out that in translation, the name of the largest Florida philanthropist, Rosen, means rose. And in Christianity, the rose denotes charity, and in Judaism, depth and the tree of life. Today, Tangelo Park has completely transformed. It doesn't look at all like that terrible place of the mid-90s and the beginning of the 2000s, about which legends and jokes are already circulating in the town. Harris himself is simply sure that you need to be a leader, a servant who serves people in the whole world, and then people will naturally follow your good example. And his story is the best proof of that. It so happened that just one person, who cared about those around him, was able to change the fate of the whole city and tens of thousands of people. Now imagine that each of us could become Harris Rosen. Yes, even if we don't have much money, the most important thing is desire. After all, the vast ocean itself consists of many small drops. Well, that is it for today, so be sure to write in the comments down below your opinion about this really kind and humanitarian person, as well as your thoughts about how he alone was able to change the whole city. And of course, don't forget to hit like if you like this video. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more.